What's up, guys? Welcome back to a new episode of Out of the Park Baseball 26, where we are rebuilding the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we're joining you today from September 1st, 2029, where our Pirates have the best record in all of the NL at 81-55. Today we're going to look to make our stretch run here. Hopefully we can make it through this final month of the season healthy and set ourselves up for a good postseason run. I think last year we snuck in as a wild card team. This year we are in the driver's seat for getting the top seed in the NL. You can take a look here. There's only, two other teams that are sort of near us, the Braves and the Dodgers, but we have a good deal of separation between them. So as long as we maintain that pace through the final month here, we ought to be good. Obviously, there are still some strong teams in the AL. The Red Sox and Yankees both have a better record than we do. But we wouldn't see them until presumably the World Series. So I think this is going to be an exciting finish for us. I look forward to seeing the playoff bracket once we get there at the end of the video. But last we had left off, we were at roster expansion. Obviously, September 1st, we can bring up a bunch of new guys to our team, and I've reshuffled some things off camera that I want to show you. But before then, I just wanted to say thanks for choosing to tune into these videos. I have been really pleased with all the comments we've gotten, and the likes on the videos have been awesome. So thank you guys so much. If you find yourself coming back here on the regular, I would just, a like on the video would be awesome. It really does make a big difference in the reach of the channel. So, thanks for, if you do that every time, obviously, thank you. But I'll show you who we've brought up. We have a couple of interesting things going on here. I brought up Camden Coziel. We had discussed him previously. He's sort of like a contact first lefty infielder who can play a capable second, and he can also double at the corners, first and third. And good personality. He's never debuted, so this will be his major league debut, and I'm going to rotate him in pretty aggressively with Spencer Horwitz at first base. Horwitz is our 9-hole hitter. We're going to have them rotate every 3 days, so Coziel should get a fair amount of experience here. And, hopefully he can prove himself capable, and next year he can kind of take the mantle from Horwitz in some capacity. He may not start, he may just be a bench player, but that's sort of the goal here, is just give him a good trial run, and hopefully he can, make the most of it. We're still awaiting the return of Edward Lantigua, our star left fielder who has been out with a rather severe hamstring strain for 5 weeks at this point. He still has 1 week of recovery time left. He's obviously a very good player, insane fielder, good base runner, good bat. Was hitting 300 prior to getting injured, which is obviously very awesome. So we're looking forward to getting him back, but it's going to take a week. We still have in the meantime, Gavin Turley up, who has performed, I would say, shockingly well. 244 average, OPSing 750. It's nothing tremendously special, but it's just, I was expecting negative WAR production out of him, and he's been a positive player, so I'm honestly pretty happy with everything he's given us. Hopefully he can continue holding it down. Our third-round pick in 2025 is finally here at almost 26 years old. So good to see that, but he will likely be sent down as soon as Lantigua becomes available to us. So Coziel is really the only addition on the lineup end. We have shifted some things around on the pitching front. We have called up Braxton Ashcraft to replace Olivares, who was here previously. Jose Olivares has been sort of yanked up and down all year for us, and I still like him generally, but I just favor the experience and known quantity that Ashcraft is. So he's going to get middle relief for us. He didn't really get much run in his rehab assignment at AAA, but I feel like he's pretty well proven as a major league player at this point. Obviously, he's returning off of elbow ligament reconstruction, so it's pretty major surgery. I don't know how his production is going to look. We'll just have to keep a close eye on it. The other move here is maybe a little surprising, but if you remember watching last video, Hunter Green has a day-to-day calf strain that, he still has 4 days of recovery on. And while it doesn't really influence his throwing, I don't want him to throw on it. I just don't want to risk it because we're so close to the finish line here. I don't want anything to go wrong. So we're going to try to manipulate the rotation in a way where he does not pitch on it. 4 days from now, would be like sort of around like here in this Arizona series. I've called someone up that we can, give a spot start in between, and that is Cole Klecker, our 12th round pick out of TCU in 2025. He is 25 years old now, has never debuted, but he's had a string of really strong games here at AAA as of late. Over the last month of August, he's been really good down there. And his stats on the year are overall pretty positive. Positive ERA plus, good FIP minus. Of course, he's giving up a little bit of home runs, and, he's not going to be a dominant pitcher by any means, but he's a positive 2-WAR player. And I feel like why not give him the chance? He's got a good mix, and it's time to see what we got. He's already on the 40-man roster, so let's give him a start, see what he has, and then maybe we move him to the bullpen afterward, and he kind of slots in the middle relief as well. So those are sort of the moves. We'll have to we have it as a 6-man rotation right now just to prevent him from pitching out of the bullpen. We're trying to manipulate it until Hunter Green is healthy, and then I will kick him out and we'll go back to just a normal 5-man rotation. But, I think in previous seasons we have paid really close attention to these games down the stretch here, and I don't know that there's going to be that same level of drama at the end of this season. So we'll kind of just have to see how things develop here. I am probably going to simulate, in 3 chunks, and then we can kind of review everything at the end of the month and look forward to the playoffs and kind of strategize how we want to attack that. But I think that's enough table setting. Let's get things moving. We have a 10-game lead on the division. I will let you know how things look on the 9th here. We're going to go complete this series on the road in New York. We dropped the first game, so we need to win these next 2. We have an off day and then a home stretch where we face Arizona and Chicago. So we'll check back in here on the 9th, and we can kind of see how all of our new additions are performing. And we made it here to September 9th. A bit of a mixed bag so far, just kind of 4-4. We get swept at home against Arizona, but then go on to sweep Chicago in the following series. So a little bit of up, a little bit of down. Obviously we are, still looking good across most major categories. Our offense is outstanding, as is our stolen bases and base running. The pitching has crept up slightly. We're still sort of middle of the pack, though, in a lot of the major categories, and our defense as well is not the best. But a couple of major news items. We have got Edward Lantigua back, and we gave him just kind of 1 game at AAA to get right. He got a hit. He went 1 for 3. So I wanted to bring him back ASAP, and we kicked out Gavin Turley, unfortunately, who, was obviously good, but he was kind of showing some cracks in his game, and obviously Lantigua is such a superior player. But the downfall of all of these injuries that he's accumulated this year is now he is fragile. He's kind of had just very minor nicks, just little tweaks here and there. But dating back to last season, he's had hamstring, hip, hamstring, forearm, and abdominal strain, hamstring strain. So he's now fragile as well. It's obviously not ideal. He's in his first year of team control. I think we're going to have a lot of guys just hitting the weight room this offseason between him and Wyatt Sanford and a couple of our other guys as well. It's going to be a big year for strength and conditioning. But obviously happy to have him back. We've sort of got the lineup back to full strength here. Trying to avoid going so many lefties in a row if we can. So for the time being, he's going to hit in the 8 spot. But obviously if he continues to hit like he has all year at 300, it's likely he gets pushed up higher, and maybe we swap him with Gonzalez or something like that. So we'll kind of just see how he does. Wanting to be a little conservative with it. for the time being. But early returns on the September call-ups. Camden Koziel has gotten 15 plate appearances. He's hit 3 doubles, and it's kind of just average, but it's, I think a net positive on what we were getting from Spencer Horwitz. So they're kind of very similar players, like I've mentioned previously, but early returns are somewhat positive here. It looks like he can hang at the major league level. And on the pitching front, Cole Klecker ended up not making a start, but he's gotten 3 innings of work in the pen, 2 appearances for us, and he's been pretty lights out in both of them. Not really getting hit, 182 average against, but, super limited sample, but, good first impression in his first 9 days. And then Ashcraft has been somewhat weaker. In his 2 appearances, he allowed a earned run here, and also he actually has got 3 games of work. He allowed runs in 2 of 3, so kind of a work in progress there on his return. But, guys have really cooled off. We're looking at the September splits. Like Jonathan Santucci has been a little rough in his 2 games. He's got a 13.5 ERA. Jared Jones has made 1 start. It was kind of a dud. So we'll see how things develop here down the stretch. We're still 9 up on St. Louis, so I don't think we're in any sort of danger in terms of, NL standing. The Dodgers and Braves have maybe gained marginally on us. We have 7 games of separation on the Braves, 8 on the Dodgers. So we'll kind of see how we finish here across the next couple of weeks. Dan Beebe is still positioned well for Cy Young, although Paul Skeens is right there as well. It looks like he has had a really strong year, and yeah, he's been quite dominant for them. So good for Paul. We'll cheer him on from afar. I wonder if are they even going to make the playoffs? No, probably not. So it's unlikely we would see them, although I guess not impossible. They're still kind of hanging out there. But let's keep things moving here. We've got more games in front of us. We'll be looking closely at Edward Lantigua to see if he can, recapture his form. Termar has been really hot for us lately, hitting almost 350. Really good September start for him. So we've got 3 more series here. We go on the road to Boston and DC, and then we come back home and face Cincinnati here. So we'll come back on the 20th, and then from there, it's just 3 more series before we wrap the whole season. So we'll be done shortly. All right, guys, we're pulling in here to the 21st. As you can see, not our strongest week of ball here. We lose this series against Boston. We take the one against Washington, but lose the one against Cincinnati. A couple of heartbreaker, 1-loss losses there, I guess. So we're 89-64 ahead of our final stretch of play here in the season. 8-9 in September. So we've kind of just been treading water, but I'm not too mad at it. The good news is we've remained healthy, so knock on wood, that continues. There have been St. Louis has gotten hot at just the right time, so they've closed the gap to 5. We have 9 games remaining, so we just kind of need to maintain our 500 play here, and we ought to be fine. I don't think we're really in danger of losing the top seed to either of these teams. It would be a tremendous collapse on our end to fall out of that pole position. We've already clinched the playoffs, as you can see, so no danger of missing the playoffs, obviously. So we're kind of just going to closely monitor these games down the stretch. I think I'm going to simulate them off camera, but if something ends up being very important, I'll of course come back on and we can do it live. So I guess something I did notice in this most recent week, though, I made some changes to our pitching. You can see the bats have started to heat up a bit. Sanford and Benj especially. Santucci is really not doing so hot. He's really kind of tanked his numbers in the second half here if we go to his splits, and you can see he was a positive WAR player for us all season with a good strong ERA, and then these last 2 months of ball have just been not his best play. So the walks are super elevated. He's giving up the homer, so we're trying to limit his exposure, and we've sort of toggled him to just be long relief, avoid high leverage. Previously, he was sometimes working in as middle relief, and we've dialed that back. We've also made some substantial changes on the back end of our bullpen here, where now Randy Rodriguez will be the closer, and maybe he should have been the closer all along, you guys. If we look at just the WAR totals and everything that the stats tell us, the FIP minus, the batting average against, strikeout minus walk, it's all pointing toward Randy being our best reliever this season. And I always secretly knew it, but I was just, unwilling to accept it. Cade Smith has now been bumped down to just regular setup role, and he may sub in high leverage like middle relief if needed. Brian Abreu as well, just a setup role. Abreu has not really improved. He's brought the ERA down slightly over the course of the year, but he's still walking a tremendous amount of batters and is just really not all that great. Cade Smith, since we brought him on, you can see his stats split here. For us, he has not been good. He's only like he's blowing nearly half his save opportunities here, 10 saves to 6 blown, has only been a 0.1 WAR player, giving up 1.5 homer per 9, batters hitting 240 against him. He's got a subpar ERA plus, elevated FIP, has really not been the dominant closer we were searching for, and I don't really know why. It's just, I guess he's not vibing with our ballpark, not vibing with our team, so we're bumping him out. We're giving Randy the closing role to end the season here, and we'll see how he does. He's been really hot as of late. I mean, you can kind of see it on this screen here. In his last 18 games, he's, striking out a ton, not allowing runs. He's been really awesome. So I think we're going to go with this for the remainder of the year. I don't know how we're going to handle it for the playoffs. That's something I'll have to consider a little bit off camera on a deeper level. Edward Lantigua has somewhat been struggling since he's been back. The average has dropped down to 290. He went through a little bit of a rough patch, but in his most recent game, he homered. So hopefully he has rediscovered it. And no other meaningful changes from the pitching staff. Cole Klecker has honestly been really good. Ashcraft has not been so good. You can, I guess, see their numbers here. But Klecker, 6 innings, sub-2 ERA. I think there's maybe a chance he makes the playoff roster for us as innings eater, long relief, middle relief kind of guy, because I don't know that we're going to bring Ashcraft. He just has not really impressed me. He has a negative strikeout minus walk rate. So we're just giving him a little more time to figure it out here based on his reputation. But I don't know that he, like I said, makes the playoff roster for us. So we only have, like I mentioned, 9 games left on the schedule. We don't play into October this season. And I was looking up some historical Pirates stats, and the last time the Pirates won the World Series was 1979. And the team that year had a record of 98-64. So we would need to win out all of these games in order to equal that record of, the best Pirates in the modern era. There was in 1909 a Pirates team that won 110 games, but I'm not really factoring that. I'm factoring modern era stats, so 1960, 1950 plus. So that's what we're going to go off of. The best Pirates team in history won 98 games. We'll see if we can manage to do that. I am not holding out any hope, but even if we win above 95, that would be the second place mark. 1960 Pirates won 95 games. So we'll see if we can maybe equalize that or surpass it to take the crown or the number 2 spot, the silver medal in Pirates franchise history. So let's get going here. We've got 3 against Seattle, and then we end the season on the road at Milwaukee and at Miami. Like I said, I will jump back in if something ends up being really important, but otherwise I will rejoin you here at the end of the season. All right, guys, that's a wrap on 2029. Not much drama here down the stretch. We end up finishing as the 3rd best team in modern Pirates history. We could not equal the 1979 mark of 98 wins. We finished at 94-68, so we can't even beat the 1960 Pirates either. They were 95-59. So, obviously they play less games back then, but in terms of just win total, we fall a little bit short of those two teams. But we closed the year out pretty strong. Like we won the first two series here, ended up dropping this one in Miami, and now we are looking ahead toward the playoffs. So the 94 and 68 finish obviously places us at the top of the NL bracket. You can kind of see here how things are looking. We will get the winner of Arizona and St. Louis in the first wild card series. So either a divisional matchup or a rematch against the team that knocked us out last season in Arizona. On the other side, LA takes the other top seed, and they will get the winner of the NL East kind of battle here between the Mets and the Braves. So I also wanted to acknowledge that this is the first time the Pirates have ever won the NL Central. We got a note that said, something along the lines of it was our 17th division crown when we ended up, securing the division. But they've never won the NL Central. They were previously in the NL East and won a bunch of divisions there. But they've never won the Central, so this is a historic year in Pirates history. In terms of top performers, a lot of our batters have sort of fallen out of these top three, but Dan Beebe has positioned himself really well for a Cy Young, nearly a Triple Crown performance here. Paul Skeens beats him in strikeouts and by 0.1 in pitcher WAR, so it'll be between those two guys. It just depends what the voting panel values more. Do they value the wins and the ERA, or do they value the strikeouts and the WAR? So we'll be crossing our fingers. Our guy gets the award, of course. And I wanted to look at the expanded standings as well, because we did not take the best record in all of baseball. There were two teams in the AL East who won more games than we did, and they both had really strong run differentials, plus 214, plus 130, and the Rangers are especially strong as well with a plus 117. But if we scroll down to us, we are at a plus 114, so we are the best in the NL. Ended up finishing two above our expected record. I was going to, acknowledge that because in the preseason sim, I think we were projected to go either 92 or 93 wins. So we ended up with 94 here, so a little bit better than the preseason predictions had us. We were a losing team on the road, so I'm really glad we secured home field advantage through these playoffs. And, one-run games, extra inning games were a little tough for us. I think that's just due to the uncertain nature of the back end of our bullpen. But pre- and post-All-Star break, obviously winning records in both groupings and, no major differentials against lefty-righty pitching, although maybe we're a little weaker against lefty pitching. So that's how we wrap from a team standing perspective. Obviously, we're not going to touch the playoffs in this episode. I'm going to save it for next time, guys. I know you're well, the episode just started, but I would want to make it special where we look at each game, and I think saving it for next episode is going to be our best plan. So I wanted to review some of the stats here, and then we can kind of end the video there a little bit early, and I'll save you guys some time. You can get back to your day. But in terms of team stats, we should look at that first. We finish, first or second in the majority of all batting categories in the NL, which is obviously awesome to see. Our strikeouts, we are 13th, so I think that's mostly O'Neal Cruz and maybe a little bit of Connor Griffin striking out a lot. But we're a positive base running team. We're getting a lot of steals. We're kind of middle of the pack there. And overall, just super happy with the offense and all of the young talent that we have producing. First in WAR at 30.7. And the pitching front, we sort of climbed back to just middle of the pack in a lot of these categories. Our overall ERA is 8th, starter is 9th, bullpen 6th. Not too bad here. We're pretty good in terms of WAR. We're kind of just getting hit around. I don't really know. It may just be a quirk in our, performance this year. Obviously, we're not the best defensive team with Nick Gonzalez at second base. And honestly, Wyatt Sanford had a down year at shortstop as well. I was looking at his fielding stats, and they were worse than you would imagine considering his attribute ratings. So hopefully that can improve next season. If we go player by player, though, I want to sort of spotlight all of our guys here. So if we just kind of bounce around the diamond here, I'll try to be brief with this, but of course that is famous last words here. On the season as a whole, like Omar Alfonso was obviously our full-time catcher. He finishes with a 28 double season, 20 homer season for a 120 WRC plus. So right in line with his numbers from last season. He got, approximately 20 more games of action, 50 more plate appearances, and kind of just improved on the majority of his slash lines. A little bit down in most slash lines, actually. I meant improved a little bit in most of his counting stats. But 3.9 WAR player. He's obviously a very good defender as well, like good range, zone rating. A couple passed balls, but runner thrown out percentage at close to 1 in 4 is pretty decent. Good framer, 2.4 framing runs. So obviously we're happy with him. He's definitely going to be back next season, as he is not arbitration eligible. I think he's going to be one of our captains. I don't know that we'll sign him long term. We may just play it through ARB 1 year at a time, but obviously love having him on the team. And his backup, Axel Plaus, was honestly very, very strong. 70 games for him, hit 12 homers, almost 40 RBI, 845 OPS. Honestly, WRC plus, like slightly higher than Alfonso. He had a 129 here, and a 1.6 WAR out of a backup catcher is really awesome. So I think, he's obviously effective hitting lefty pitching. So he's, ideal for that role for us, and he's not a bad defender as well. So obviously going to bring him back as well, as he's just on the major league minimum. Spencer Horwitz, we've discussed. I think this is likely his final season with us. We'll see if we can get any trade value for the near 32-year-old next season. He's sort of regressed back down. In previous seasons, all these attributes were like in the 60s, and he was just like light blue across the board apart from power. And now he's just kind of green across the board, and I think that's just due to his age. And he's entering the final year of ARB, where he's estimated to receive $7.5 million. I think that is money we need to save if we're looking to bring back, the rest of our core. And I think we've, kind of seen the best of Spencer Horwitz. He's on the downturn, and we can, jettison him off to another team who can maybe use him. But overall, not a terrible season, positive 1.3 WAR player. I think he improved his defense a lot this season compared to last year and made fewer errors to kind of, explain the change in WAR year over year, because, you look at his slash lines, there's not much difference there and not much of a difference from the counting stats either. So I think it's really just a lack of defensive errors that kind of boosted him a little bit. But I don't know that he'll return. Yordani De Los Santos was always kind of sitting in our system, and this was his first full year at the majors, and I am pretty happy with it. Positive hitter, positive WAR player, good defender. Like, he's often a late game defensive sub for Nick Gonzalez at second base. Not that he's like a tremendous defender, but he's just marginally better. And he did a really effective job for us this year hitting left-handed pitching. He had a 141 WRC plus against left-handed pitching, 881 OPS. So, he's definitely effective in that role, but he's, capable against right-handed pitchers as well. I think it's likely he returns in the exact same role for us next season, just because, there's still a little untapped potential here as well. He can continue to grow into a player. He's still just 24, so definitely happy to have him. Nick Gonzalez builds on another strong season here, 3.0 WAR, like equaling his WAR total from last season. He hit fewer homers and fewer doubles, like year over year, but he stole twice as many bases. So the base stealing really came along this season. He did a good job at the top of the order, getting on, even though the average and the OVP, the slug all slip a little bit year over year. He's still a very strong player, and I think it will be his final year with us next year. He's eligible for ARB 3, so he's going to make close to $11 million likely, which will, have to free that up somewhere, free that money up, one way or another, and try to bring him back. But obviously love having him as a captain personality. And, similarly, we'll skip over Camden Koziel. Well, we'll go over him quickly. I guess very limited sample, 15 game sample, but he was really awesome, you guys. Hit 311, OPS 923 for a 151 WRC plus. He was just hot out of the gate. Love everything about him. This is our Spencer Horwitz replacement moving forward. Termar is obviously like one of our highest WAR players. I meant to do this at the start, but if we just like sort by WAR, we go Griffin, Termar, Sanford, Alfonso, Gonzalez as like all 3+ WAR players. Termar is obviously like really, really good. He's sort of regressed a little bit in his eye in his most recent scouting report, but you look at his ratings here against right-handed pitching, he's like crushing it. Is now like entering his middle arb years, so he's eligible for $7 million this offseason, and obviously we're gonna pay it, but I'm just thinking ahead, like he's going to get more and more expensive. I don't know that he's a long-term signing candidate for us just yet. We'll just kind of have to see how it goes. But in terms of his performance this year, it's his best year in the majors yet, 4.7 WAR. Not hitting for as much average, but he was slugging a bit more, pushed out, I think, a career high in homers, 24, and he also stole a ton more bases, 25 steals. We were really way more aggressive on the base paths this season as a team. The other piece of our core middle infield here is Wyatt Sanford, and he had a 4.6 WAR season. This was really his coming out party. Last year he got 135 games, but kind of, that was his first taste of the major league at like an extended sample. And he was kind of just settling in. This year he's fully here, OPSing 821, 132 WRC plus, not the most effective base stealer or slugger from home run perspective, but he did have 33 doubles. But, you think with these defensive ratings here, he would be a more effective fielder. But when I go here to sort, the shortstop, he had 13 errors, which I feel like is a lot. Even though his zone rating and efficiency do net as positive, I feel like, maybe the errors were a little more noticeable in the box score than they should be with a 74 or 75 error rating there. But obviously he's going to be back. He's fragile. We're going to look to get him in an off-season program. He's still going to make the major league minimum for us next season. And then we kind of get to our outfielders here. We have Carson Benj, Edward Lantigua, Connor Griffin, and O'Neal Cruz. If we just kind of isolate to them, you can see everyone, had tremendous seasons. Connor Griffin was almost a 5 WAR player. He did really sort of cool off down the stretch, and at one point he was pacing for like 7 WAR, which would have been insane, but he ends up finishing at a 5 WAR player, 28 doubles, 28 homers, 22 steals, and almost 100 RBI. So he's also our RBI leader on the team this season. I never would have predicted this in preseason, that he would come along so quickly for us. I honestly just projected him to be plus defense at center, and I was happy with that alone, but he's really turned into one of our better hitters here and also a threat on the base paths. So we'll see how he does. I think it's unlikely he wins Rookie of the Year, but if he were to win Rookie of the Year, he would net us a PPI pick. I just think it's far more likely that Dan Beebe wins Rookie of the Year, unfortunately, so we've kind of boxed ourselves out on a potential extra draft pick. But Carson Benj as well, also had a very, very strong season. Ended up hitting 27 homer, 84 RBI. Really turned it around down the stretch. He had a very sort of mid opening to the year, very cold April, May. But from June on, he was a very plus hitter for us. Started really finding it late summer. And obviously, he'll return next season. He is not yet arbitration eligible, so look forward to bringing him back, and I think it's likely that he moves from DH to full-time right field next year. I think we'll look to swap him and O'Neal Cruz. Maybe O'Neal Cruz can just kind of focus on hitting for us and maybe try to salvage his the back half of his contract as just a DH and kind of backup outfielder. But the other guys here, not really too much to speak of. I mean, Edward Lantigua had an 800 OPS. He hit 293. Sort of missed a big chunk of the year, so only got 100 games of experience and hit 10 homers, 55 RBI. Was obviously very effective in the games he did play, and is just kind of, flying under the radar, like, Wyatt Sanford, Connor Griffin, Carson Benj, they get all the press. Edward Lantigua just kind of sneaks around and hits a casual 300. So I think overall, our offense was really strong this season. I mean, that was reflected in the team stats, and hopefully it's enough to carry us through the playoffs. As far as pitching goes, obviously we are led by our star 24-year-old number one overall pick, Dan Beebe, who ended up putting up a 5.9 WAR for us, batters hitting sub 200 against him, led the NL in ERA and wins, like we mentioned, ended up starting 33 games and pitching over 213 innings. So, he has fully delivered on all of the expectations surrounding him being the number one pick out of college. And he's like risen through the majors like very quickly. Obviously, our most insane pitcher, both on paper and in his production as well. But maybe a surprise in terms of like WAR, Mike Burrows is actually our number 2 pitcher this season. So I want to kind of, put some respect on him. Like he really performed pretty well, 183 innings, kind of just major league average ERA and FIP, but I think he kind of just excelled, not, allowing like detrimental contact to the baseball. It was like sub 1 homer per 9, 235 average is pretty decent. He's not really striking out a ton of guys, but he's not walking guys either. So kind of just a steady 4 for us. And he's really sort of, impressed. So, I think it's a question if we want to bring him back next season. He is a popular player, so that's a point in his favor. But he's going to be looking for close to $5.5 million. I think it's likely we do bring him back just as that steady 4 starter for us. He's been with us for quite a while at this point, and why not run it back one more year? Not that I would not expect him to produce at a 3.0 WAR next season. It's probably somewhere in between like a average and maybe he's just kind of a 1 WAR player for us, and I'd be fine with that. But definitely surprising to see him up here. And then we kind of have the aforementioned Randy Rodriguez, who we touched on earlier in the video. Obviously, super, super strong FIP minus and ERA plus, was our leader in shutdowns with 27. And I think we're going to use him as our closer in the playoffs. I've sort of set up like a mock rotation here. You can kind of look at how I have things sort of structured. But I think we're going to go based on the stats here and try to just ride the hot hand through the playoffs. Our next guys up, are our 2 more highly paid starters, Hunter Green and Jared Jones. Jared Jones did end up somewhat salvaging it down the stretch. He was, very volatile for us this season, but ends up placing very highly in the NL pitcher win rankings. I think he's 4th or 5th there, or maybe even top 3. I'm not even 100% certain, but he's among the leaders in wins in the NL. So despite his weak ERA and just kind of average FIP and WHIP, he ends up being a 2.2 WAR player for us. Obviously he's striking out a ton of guys. I think he was just giving up hard contact. The 270 average against is not especially inspiring, but Hunter Green was much better. Sub 4 ERA. The whip is looking really good, not walking guys, striking guys out, and he's averaging, or hitters against him are averaging a much lower number of just 227. So, I think it's likely we go with Jones over Burrows just because I tend to favor the swing and miss stuff a little bit more. When I'm thinking ahead to playoff rotations, I think it's likely we go BB Green, Jones, Burrows, but I'll kind of think about that a little bit harder off camera, and then we're going to bump Finn McElroy to the bullpen. Jonathan Santucci is not here. But Finn McElroy, I think, was a pleasant surprise. It's not the strongest ERA or FIP, if we're being honest. He kind of got hit around a little bit, but I think for a rookie to be able to come in and start 30 games for us, it's definitely impressive, and there's still quite a bit of room for him to grow. We still think there's plus control upside, and once that does tick up and his pitches come along a little bit further this offseason, I think he could be really good for us. I'm not willing to write him off just yet. He's a high draft pick for us. I think he could fill the 5 spot for us again next year. Just kind of depends on how things look. And then, like, from a reliever perspective, I don't know that we're going to touch on a lot of these guys, but, we'll have to think long and hard about whether we're going to bring back Cade Smith, because obviously, like, the season as a whole, he looked really strong, but for us, he was rather weak, so I don't really know what he's going to expect from a contract perspective in the offseason. Kind of just remains to be seen if he's, like, maybe affordable for us or not, but we have a bunch of guys jumping up to higher levels of ARB. I don't know that we're going to be able to afford a major pitcher, because last season we handed out contracts to guys like Matt Brash and Brian Abreu, so it's kind of like maybe our hands are tied. I don't know if we'll have enough money to bring back Cade Smith or not, but obviously he's very talented on paper, and maybe he can wow us in the playoffs, and that's enough for us to want to bring him back. Jojo Romero is also a free agent, pending free agent this season. He has reached out to us about possibly being extended, but I think I'm kind of done here with him. He ended up being a very good player for us this year. Last year, you'll remember, he was just atrocious. So this year was a nice, pleasant change of pace in that regard. A 0.7 WAR, but like, I don't know that I want to pay a lefty specialist the kind of contract he's going to want. And, you kind of think he's on the back half of his career here, just turning 33 recently. I think we can look to maybe find either a younger lefty specialist, or maybe someone like Jonathan Santucci takes on that role for us. But Tyler Holton, I'm sort of in between on. Like, I don't know that I'm willing to move on from him. And he's similarly like 33, but has much less major league service time. So I'm wondering if he still has some stuff left in the tank here. Relatively cheap, so I don't know that he'll command a big price, and I kind of like how steady he is against both sides. I don't know that he, will like close games for us ever or anything like that, but I like him as a setup middle relief guy, and he was really good for us this year. 2.3 ERA, pretty good, like not giving up the long ball. ERA plus is strong, FIP is strong as well. Overall positive WAR player. Left on base percentage of 90.5 is really good as well. So we'll have to consider bringing him back for sure. And then we're obviously tied into Abreu, who did not have the best season, as you know. 6 walk per 9 is not ideal. Out of the bullpen, had 11 meltdowns, which was not a great ratio with his 17 shutdowns. Kind of just getting hit around, batter sitting 251, and not really great at stranding runners either. Yoldine De La Paz got 70 innings for us, and this was his worst year yet. He's sort of regressed every season since debuting in 2027 for us. So I still obviously like him because he's a lefty and he's pretty steady, but he's going to be entering ARB1 next season. So we'll kind of just have to see how he does. I mean, I think it's likely we bring him back for that, but beyond that, I'm not sure if he will factor for us the more expensive he gets. So let's call it here, guys. I think that's enough stat wrapping for the time being. Obviously, a tremendous year for our Pirates as a whole. I'm really excited to get to the playoffs with you in the next episode. So I hope to see you there. We'll end the video here, and then in next episode, we will look to attack the entirety of the playoffs. We will go as far as our Pirates go and look to tie a bow on the 2029 season. So, it should be exciting. As always, I thank you so much for watching these videos. If you find yourself coming back here regularly, feel free to subscribe or, simply just like the video. I would really appreciate it. It helps bring more people into the channel. But let's get this rolling. I will join you tomorrow for the 2029 playoffs, guys. Take it easy.